Today's topic is leaving. I think about all the things that I have left, or so it appears that I have left, and what that feels like. I remember the first time I ever got on an airplane. I was leaving Detroit and I was on my way to Fort Jackson, South Carolina to attend basic training. And I thought I was a badass. I'm leaving, I'm going to the Army, I'm going to the reserves. Y'all gonna be at home. I'm going to the Army. I'm hooah hooah. And once my family dropped me off at the airport and I went to the gate. Back then you could walk people all the way to the gate. And I got on that plane and that plane took off. I was afraid. And I thought, what in the hell did I just get myself into? And how they had it set up back then, and I think they still do it now, is that you arrive no matter what time you leave, you arrive at night. So it's dark. So you get off the plane and they put you on a bus and you arrive and it's late and you wake up and then you start in processing and then you get all your uniforms and everything and they take you to your unit and that's when the mayhem begins. And I was afraid for about 7 days. And then reality set in and I was a squad leader. And I said, I came here to be PFC Thomas, but I came here because I'm a reservist and I need money for college. So I had to let all of that fear go away because I had to remind myself why I was there, why I needed to do this thing alone, by myself. When I graduated from basic training, I went back home and I finished my senior year, and then I had to leave again. And I had to go to Michigan State. And I didn't have an official visit to Michigan State because we didn't have the money. So I applied, I got in, and my first time seeing my dorm room was the first time I got up there with all my stuff. And I had to familiarize myself with the campus. And I went to a big high school, so there were a couple students and colleagues of mine, classmates, and we walked around campus. But I lived in Shaw Hall in the middle. They all knew somebody in their dorms. I had 2 new roommates. I never lived with anybody else other than basic training, and now these are my roommates. And it was transition, and so I had to leave Detroit and have this new experience. And I didn't know how I felt about that. But I had a mission, and that mission was graduate from college. Graduate from college. After a year at Michigan State, I transitioned and I said, you know what? I'm going to Eastern Michigan. I don't like Michigan State. I'm going to Eastern. It's too big. It's too many other things happening. And I want to be closer to home. So I went to Eastern. I left again and had to start all over again. And yes, my high school was huge, so there were people there that I knew as well. But I was in ROTC by myself. I had to learn and meet new people and do all these different things. I graduated and I left again. And then I had to go in the Army on a flight to Korea all by myself in a country I had never been before. Hangul on the signs, the streets, the driver's license. Again, I left Korea and I had to come back to the States. And I left the military and I left and had a corporate job. And I left that corporate job and then I left and moved to Las Vegas where I've been here. But I've left a lot of things behind. What is my point? All of those times that I was there and I knew what was taking place and I left people and places behind, but I took me with me. I took a new version of myself with me. And the interesting thing about leaving is that when people stay, they stay the same. Every time I went back to Detroit and I went to the neighborhoods to see the people were the same. But I wasn't. I was different because I left. And I sent myself on these journeys, higher power, God, and the universe guiding me. But I'm different. And even though I've been in Las Vegas for 14 years, I've still left things behind. And I took me, a better version of myself, with me everywhere that I went. And more people need to leave. More people need to leave those things behind that don't bode well for us, that don't benefit us. Is it scary as hell? Abso-freaking-lutely. 17 years old, and I'm on a plane by myself on my way to the Army. And while I'm in basic training, the rumblings of Desert Storm break out. My unit gets activated. Absolutely, but I'm here on the other side. I'm here at 51 years old. Leaving is necessary if you're going after greatness. If I had stayed in Detroit, I would be working for one of the big three. No question about it. If I didn't have an ROTC scholarship and I stayed in the reserves, I would be living in cold Michigan right now, being overweight and just sitting there with people, going to the same church. My roommate from college still goes to the same church. The pastor died. His son is now the pastor, and it is the same. And the one thing about leaving, when I left Michigan and I came back, I went right back to that church. But I was different, and they weren't. And what felt like comfort initially felt like restraints when I went back. And I had to go to a whole nother different church. I couldn't even go back. I went back once, visited, and I said, this is not me. This is not who I am becoming. So you have to leave to be the person that you are becoming. And oof, is it isolating? Was I alone and lonely? Absolutely. And in those moments, I found myself. I found myself in all of my renewed sense of self. When I was a commissioned officer, my mother asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I told her I wanted a Bible, and I still have that Bible to this day. The Bible is 28 years old. And I said I wanted a Bible. I wanted a Bible because I needed comfort. I needed something to remind me that everything was going to be okay. That everything was going to be okay. And I still have that Bible, and it sleeps next to me on my pillow every night. That same Bible from 1996, because that helped me every time I left. Every time. And I got the tabs, and it's highlighted in the cover. I had to get another cover for it because if you open it up, it's so old, it kind of go, and I don't want any of the pages to fall out. I have a different Bible that I use as a reference point, and then I have a Bible app now. But I kept that one thing with me from 1996, and it has gone to the field with me, to foreign countries with me. It is there for me every time I think I'm having a moment. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this. One of my favorite gospel songs is Marvin Sapp's Never Would Have Made It, because I wouldn't be here today were it not for my faith in a higher power that's bigger than myself. So yes, I have left many times, but what has kept me as I was leaving is that Bible. That Bible has been there through everything. It has seen a lot. It has been through a lot, and so have I. And I'm just saying, for me, leaving, it makes leaving better, because I know that I am going to be better, and no matter what happens, I have that to remind me of my faith and a higher power that's bigger than myself to go do grand things. And you can't stay and leave. You can't stay and leave. And for everybody that stayed stuck, they are exactly where they were when I left. They haven't changed. We've all aged. We might have some children or some grandchildren, but the people that they are is the people that they were when I left. And that's the difference. When you operate by faith, you're leaving because you're finished with that situation. That season is over, and it's time for a new season. It's time for you to get to your next level. I have been able to help so many people because of my ability and my faith to leave. Even when it didn't seem optimal. At the height of my corporate career, I walked away and people thought I was crazy. But there is no real leadership if I stay because I was comfortable in my cushy job. It got on my nerves, but it was predictable and comfortable, and I walked away, not knowing that 14 years later I would be here making this video for you. So what is my point? My point is leaving is necessary. Comfort zones are just fear zones. Comfort zones make you think it's going to be okay, and if I leave, the fear out there, I don't know about the unknown, but that comfort zone is what's stopping you from becoming extraordinary and grand and magnificent and legendary. And while it feels like a nice little warm blanket, it starts suffocating you after a while, and then you get hot and you want to take it off, and people say, no, no, stay right here, stay with us, we love you, we care about you, we want you to be right here. And I say it on my lives all the time. That's the Stuckmily. That's the family that's sticking together. You can't grow together. You can't grow and stay stuck at the same time. You got to do this. You got to leave. You got to let go so you can grow. You got to let go so you can grow. You got to let go so you can grow. You got to leave. Because if you stay, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck right there. Stuck. It takes a lot of faith to leave. It takes a lot of mental strength to leave everything that you know, everything that you are familiar with, and go into the unknown. But I have done it hundreds of times, and I've never regretted leaving, because it's time to go so you can grow. And you have to do it, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting there wondering, coulda, shoulda, woulda, didn't. There's a great book, and it's called The Tools, and there's some exercises in the book, and one of the famous, or my favorite exercise, is the deathbed exercise. And it says this: think of yourself and picture yourself in your deathbed, on your deathbed. And what would you like to have accomplished in life? What would that be? As you lay there saying, hey, I'm on my way out. I've done everything. It's time for me to go. And think about all of those things that you would have liked to accomplish. And then go and do those things. Because I've been around a lot of senior citizens and older people, and the number one thing that they have as they sit in these elderly communities is they have regrets. They have regrets that in that moment they should have and they didn't. And why didn't they? Regrets. I don't know why I didn't do it. Or they say I was afraid, so I didn't. I stayed married too long. I stayed at the job too long. I didn't start a business. I wanted to travel more. I wanted to spend more time with myself. My daughter just had an appointment, and I asked somebody that was in their late 70s. I said, well, what advice would you have for your 51-year-old self? Because that's me. What would you have, and what would you say? And she said, I would have delegated more. Because I had a business and I did everything, I would have just delegated more. Because she has some health challenges now, and that's just her statement. And for me, I don't have any regrets. There's nothing that I wished I would have done, because I did it. I left when it didn't make any sense. I left when things were good. I left because it was time to move forward. And that's what you have to do. Think about you on your deathbed. What do you want to have accomplished? And can you have those accomplishments by staying where you are? And I'm going to tell you, absolutely not. You can't, because you have to move forward. It takes faith to do eunormic things, and the only way to do that is to leave and grow forward and take whatever spirituality that you need to guide you on that pathway. For me, it's the Bible from 1996 that I keep and I sleep with, and it just reminds me, you're going to be all right. No matter what's happening, you are going to be all right. This is all meant for your good. So yes, it's time to leave. And yes, this is a sign. And if you were looking for a sign, here it is. It's time to leave. You're going to be all right. This was meant for you to go and do something phenomenal, something grand, something fantastic, and it has to happen somewhere else. Got it? Good.